Peace, family. In the most holy name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom our holy praises are forever due. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his living and exalted Christ. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan is the divine reminder, the apostle of God, and God's Messiah. In their names, I greet you, family. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome from YouTube and from Facebook. I am honored that you would join your brother for a few moments this evening, and I have no intentions of keeping you and us too long. I just wanted to, in a sense, get a thing or two off of my chest, but more positively, I wanted to share something I believe is of great import with us this evening. First, I would like to offer my condolences to the Shabazz family for the loss of their and our beloved sister, Sister Malika Shabazz. May Allah be pleased with her. May Allah grant her peace. And may He grant her paradise. Second, I would like to offer my congratulations to Brother Muhammad Aziz and posthumously Brother Khalil Islam for their recent but long overdue exoneration. Now, of course, Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam, formerly known as Brother Norman 3X Butler and Brother Thomas 15X Johnson. These are the brothers who were framed by the FBI and the New York Police Department and the District Attorney's Office of New York. They were framed in 1965 and 1966 for the murder of Malcolm X. They maintained their innocence for over 50 years. They were not at the Audubon ballroom, but it was important to frame them in order to frame the Nation of Islam for the murder of Brother Malcolm. And of course, the Nation of Islam did not murder Brother Malcolm. But the government who did murder Malcolm wanted the Nation of Islam to be the scapegoat, to take the fall. And by killing two birds with one stone, neutralizing Brother Malcolm and his movement, and they hoped neutralizing as a consequence the Nation of Islam. Their COINTELPRO aimed at preventing the rise of a Black Messiah and in neutralizing Black revolution would be successful. When we heard the news of our brother's exoneration, we were so happy. But you know, dear family, in the midst of our celebration for these brothers, not that we are saying that the exoneration of these two brothers in and of itself exonerates the Nation of Islam, but the exoneration of Muhammad Aziz and Khalil Islam is a big step in the process of exonerating the Nation of Islam for this crime over 50 years ago. Because again, those brothers were framed precisely in order to frame the Nation of Islam. Now, in the midst of our celebration for this great news for them and for us, of course, tempered by the very sad news of the loss of our sister, a daughter of Brother Malcolm. In the midst of all of that, haters of the nation raised their head. And it was interesting to watch. No one can say that this was not great news that these two brothers were exonerated. Their record cleared of this false charge for which they spent over, I believe, 20 years in prison for a crime they did not commit. How could one, unless you are the enemy who orchestrated this whole thing, otherwise, how could any Black person hear this great news, but in the midst of the celebration, you are filled with hatred for the Nation of Islam? And so, to dampen the party, I observed many raising up a whole bunch of falsehoods that have been popularized because they've been operationalized against the Nation of Islam. I saw haters of the Nation of Islam, which I really can't understand how a Black person could be so hateful of the nation, as some of you are, could be so hateful of a nation, a movement, who for over 80 years has truly served Black people in a way that, in truth, in a way that no other movement has. Not that other movements don't serve Black people, but I think you know what I'm saying. So in the midst of our celebration for these brothers and our mourning with the Shabazz family for the loss of our sister, out of the blue, some of these people resurrected old canards. Do you know what a canard is? The dictionary says a canard is an unfounded rumor or story. There has been a lot of late, a lot of resurrecting old canards fabricated against the Nation of Islam. One of which we want to address tonight. Now, I'm trying to show my screen, but I will do that in a second. Now, this particular canard that we want to address tonight, because it was the canard that I saw over these last 2 weeks, I saw most often raising its head, being interjected into the celebration over the exoneration of our brothers. Let me excuse me, fam. I'm trying to find Brother Warren. I'm trying to find my I'm trying to share my page. I'm not seeing them anymore. Hang on there, family. So, Brother Warren, I don't know. No, I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I promise you, family, before we went live, we got this all straightened out. I don't know what happened. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Brother Warren, I would like, while I have this up, I would like to be able to see myself in the screen. Can you do that for me? Or am I not able to see me in the screen and the okay. Now, of course, dear family, your brother is a special ops soldier. Special ops in the sense, for example, of the Navy SEALs. When I select a subject, I tend to go very deep. That's the nature of my work. This subject, this particular canard that Texas billionaire H.L. Hunt bankrolled the Nation of Islam, we deal with it in great detail in the report that we are preparing, and Allah willing will be publicly available soon. We already had a chapter concerning this subject in our report. So when I started seeing the canard showing its head, I said, well, let's address it now, even before the report comes out, to share this part of the report with the people to put this canard to rest. Put this myth or canard. Canard is a unfounded rumor or story. The canard that is very popular in certain circles that are hateful of the Nation of Islam. This canard we intend to put to rest, expose it for what it is, and that being C-A-N-A-R-D, canard. If you don't know the word, look it up, and God willing, forever attach that term to this claim when you hear it, that the Nation of Islam was bankrolled by this man here, Texas billionaire H.L. Hunt. Now, Brother Warren, I thought the last time I want to be able, so there's no way I can see my PowerPoint and see. At around 2:30 a.m. on Sunday, February 14th, 1965, Malcolm X's home in Queens, New York, was firebombed in an FBI NYPD involved operation. A justifiably angry Malcolm X immediately laid the blame on the Nation of Islam, and any behind the scenes reconciliation negotiations that might have been engaged in at the time between Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad seemingly went up in flames with the House. On Monday, February 15th, Malcolm spoke to around 500 persons at the Audubon Ballroom, where he voiced for the first time publicly a claim that will subsequently be a pillar of the woke critique of the Nation of Islam. That Texas billionaire and racist Haroldson Lafayette Hunt Jr. bankrolled the Nation of Islam and was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's puppet master. This claim is elaborated most by, for example, Omar Shabazz of Omar Shabazz Productions, Omar Shabazz of Omar Shabazz Productions has made a whole bunch of DVDs, movies, quite silly in many ways, but quite popular. Now, our brother Omar Shabazz, he has gathered significant information, but Omar Shabazz, because he has an agenda and he has a sentiment, like so many do, who write and represent the legacy or try to represent the legacy of Brother Malcolm, have this poison in their heart for the Nation of Islam. So what they do with the information they do have oftentimes is very abusive. Omar Shabazz has developed this claim, the furthest, this claim that Harrods and Lafayette Hunt bankrolled the Nation of Islam and is thus the remote controller of the Nation of Islam, the puppet master of the messenger of God. Filmmaker Omar Shabazz says, speaking of this particular matter, if Malcolm said it, then damn it, it's true. Why? Because the man was, he says, constitutionally built to tell the truth. End quote. Whatever Malcolm's constitution was, we cannot share Brother Omar's confidence here, and we must reject his postulate. I am not suggesting that Malcolm did not speak truthfully according to his perspective. But the $64,000 question is this: what was the source and foundation of Malcolm's perspective on the matter? We have detailed, or in a detailed fashion, answered that question, and we will reiterate it tonight. What was the source of Malcolm's perspective on this matter? Before answering that, I want to answer this. Before identifying the source of Malcolm's perspective on this matter, allow me to point out what is not the source of Malcolm's perspective on this matter. Carl Evans, former editor of the Washington Post and author of The Judas Factor, The Plot to Kill Malcolm X, and also The Messenger, The Rise and Fall of Elijah Muhammad, he calls it. He says this, quote, on July 7th, 1964, Wallace and Malcolm X discussed the financial maneuvering of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his wife, about how Muhammad allegedly had been deposited money in a Swiss bank account, while Clara was putting money in banks in Beirut and Cairo. Malcolm X also mentioned that in going through the financial records in Chicago a year earlier, he uncovered evidence that H.L. Hunt, the Texas billionaire oil man, who was so thrifty, that he took his lunch to work in a paper bag every day, quote, had been giving the messenger money for several years, end quote. So according to Carl Evans here, the source of Malcolm's perspective on the matter were the financial records that he saw while in Chicago that showed the documentation that H.L. Hunt had been funding or giving the messenger money for several years. Now, what we are demonstrating in our report, these are 600 pages, but they're all notes, type notes. The report, Allah willing, will be distilled from these 600 pages of notes. One thing we demonstrate irrefutably in here is that Carl Evans is a great scholar on one hand, but also Carl Evans is a great fabricator of evidence against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. He fabricates evidence. He makes stuff up, or he does violence to his source. He twists his source in order to make it say what it absolutely does not. So, while Carl Evans will offer some jewels of information sometimes, he will also creatively insert fiction. So everything Carl Evans says, it has to be fact checked. And so when we fact check this claim of Mr. Evans or Evans, when we go to footnote 77, which is the footnote attached to this particular claim, when we go to the footnote is only mildly helpful. It directs us to the FBI headquarters file on Malcolm X. That's all it says. Now, presumably, the file is on the date of the particular file relevant here, which Mr. Evans does not give us any details of. He gives us a generic citation that the source of this claim is in FBI headquarters file. Now, anyone who works with the FBI files on Malcolm X, there are 9,000 of them, and I am blessed to be in possession of all 9,000 of the FBI files currently released and available on Malcolm X. The files are segregated. The files they are grouped together according to the origin, the office of origin. The files that originated with headquarters, J. Edgar Hoover's office in DC, are grouped together. Files that originated in New York are grouped together. Files that are initiated in Phoenix and other areas are grouped together. Carl Evans says this particular claim that Malcolm discovered while going through the financial records of Chicago, he discovered that Hunt was bankrolling the nation. Evans says that this is found in the headquarters section of the 9,000 FBI documents. I went through the headquarters section of the FBI documents, and there is nothing around July 7th, 1964 that I have found that gives any evidence of a taped and noted conversation by the FBI between Malcolm and Wallace in which this claim is found. Often, Carl Evans does that. That's why he does not give specific document information, because when we track the document down, we find he has been dishonest with the document. And this is one of those cases. Malcolm could never have made such a claim as this, neither as minister of Temple Number 7 in New York, nor as national spokesman did Malcolm have access to the Chicago financial records. Structurally, those secrets were in the hands of the National Secretary of the Nation of Islam only, and of course the leader of the nation, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So this is not the source of Malcolm's perspective on this matter. What then was Malcolm's source? Well, let's listen to Malcolm tell us in very clear language what his source is.
And I guess many of you have heard it said that his financial support comes from a rich man in Texas. I heard that while I was in the movement. I've heard it more since I left the movement. A rich man in Texas. You can look up, any of you can look up his name. But the FBI knows that too.
That was Malcolm X speaking February 15th, 1965, the only time on record where Malcolm publicly spoke on this. And he tells us very clearly the source of his perspective on the matter. Malcolm's claim is not based on official documentation, neither from Chicago or elsewhere, but on rumor. By his own admission, Malcolm is only repeating a rumor. I heard that while I was in the movement. He says, I heard it more since I left the movement. No, he did not say, I discovered it while going through the financial records in Chicago. He said very clearly, I heard that while I was in the nation, and I've heard it more since I left the nation. This detail that Malcolm was repeating a rumor that he heard, this very important detail is totally dismissed in the popular narrative. Manning Marable, for example, recites this rumor as fact, while Claude Andrew Clegg acknowledged that it is but a rumor, but then proceeds to use it as if it were a fact anyway. Who generated this rumor that Malcolm heard while in the Nation of Islam and then heard more of when he left the Nation of Islam? We can answer that question. Professor Zach Kondo, in his book, which many describe as, at least currently, the last word on the assassination of Malcolm X. I am not of that opinion. While I value Zach Kondo's work here, Conspiracies Unraveling the Assassination of Malcolm X, I do not share the opinion that this particular work is the last word, or even, in truth, an adequate word on the assassination of Malcolm X, though there is a lot of great information in it, including this. Professor Zach Kondo informs us rightly, quote, the FBI also sent Malcolm a pamphlet written by the Communist Party USA Illinois leader Claude Lightfoot in May 1963. In the pamphlet, Lightfoot charged that the Nation of Islam was being financed by a Texas oil billionaire. The scheme apparently had two major objectives. The first was to convince Malcolm that Elijah was greedy and unprincipled. The second was to create friction between the N.O.I. and the CPUSA, Communist Party USA. The Bureau has to wait until Malcolm's last week before he publicly exposed, in quotation, this Nation of Islam secret, in quotation. In other words, the, quote, H.L. Hunt Bankroll the Nation of Islam claim is a FBI generated rumor as part of a COINTELPRO operation against both the Nation of Islam and the Communist Party USA. It is disinformation. One of the aims was to cause conflict between the two groups, both of which were hated by J. Edgar Hoover, the Black Muslims and the communists. As Kondo further admits, quote, during Malcolm's last month, he used 3 stories to discredit and belittle Elijah and the N.O.I. in the eyes of African peoples. He noted that a rich white Dallas businessman was a major patron of the Nation of Islam, This information came to Malcolm's attention as part of a Bureau, FBI, counterintelligence scheme. When Malcolm says on February 15th, 1965, at the Audubon Ballroom, when he says, I heard that when I was in the nation, he heard it from the FBI in a COINTELPRO operation to cause dissension between the N.O.I and the Communist Party USA, and to cause Malcolm to look sideways at his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The FBI sent this information or disinformation to Malcolm. This is how he heard that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam was being bankrolled by a Texas billionaire. When we look even deeper, we see that the source underlying this FBI generated rumor never even made the claim that the rumor alleges. When we examine the source used by the FBI in this disinformation COINTELPRO operation that targeted Malcolm X, sent Malcolm X a package intended to make Malcolm X look a particular way at his teacher. When we examine what the Bureau sent Malcolm X, we find that that source never made the claim that the rumor alleges. Claude Lightfoot was an officer of the Communist Party USA, which disagreed with the racial politics of the Nation of Islam and Black nationalism in general. In 1962, Lightfoot published this work, which the FBI sent to Malcolm X in May of 1963. Turning Point in Freedom Road, the fight to end Jim Crow. This is very important. This is the source. This right here is the source, the foundation of the rumor that Texas oil billionaire Haroldson Lafayette Hunt is bankrolling the Nation of Islam. This source was sent to Malcolm X by the FBI under the disguise, under the disguise of a well-meaning Negro. The FBI did not send it on their behalf. The FBI sent it in a disguised package from allegedly a concerned Black man. What is most important is this pamphlet does not make the claim that the rumor alleges. That's why it's extremely important to follow the footnotes, to go to the source, put hands on the source, because these people are liars. And so much of the ideological hate against the Nation of Islam by our people, by woke Negroes. So much of the ideological hate is based on lies. We are, by Allah's grace, exposing the lies. Now, in order to do so, we got to go deep. Exposing Satan's lies is always a deep dive. This is the source. That's the bedrock of this canard. Lightfoot on page 15, 16 does not offer that claim. He offers a hypothesis. He hypothesizes while describing the Black Muslims and letting us know why he disagrees with the Black Muslims and why the Black Muslims are a danger. He then hypothesizes. Look at what he says. One could well suspect that the Black Muslims, is financed by the reactionary Texas oil billionaires. These financial angels who finance all that is reactionary in America are stupid if they are not financing the Muslims, because they preach the same doctrine, the separation of the races. Stop right there. Did you catch what just happened? Lightfoot never claims here to have any knowledge, much less documentation, that a reactionary Texas oil billionaire was actually financing the Nation of Islam. Not at all. Lightfoot only gives voice to his suspicion, which itself is based only on his own logical thinking, not facts. His logical thinking that tells him, because Hunt, the presumed Texas oil billionaire, but Lightfoot uses the plural, the generic, reactionary Texas oil billionaires. Lightfoot's logic tells him that because Hunt and the Texas oil billionaires financed the John Birch Society and other white separatist groups, Hunt would be stupid to not also finance the separatist Black Muslims. This is Lightfoot's hypothesis, his logic. But Lightfoot gives no indication at all that he has actual knowledge that the billionaires are financing the Nation of Islam. He gives no indication that he has such knowledge. He is advancing a hypothesis based on his own logical thinking. So the source, that is the bedrock of the claim, never actually made the claim itself. Certainly not as a fact or even a presumed fact. In May 1963, the FBI anonymously sent this pamphlet from an ideologically hostile source, Lightfoot and the Communist Party USA, the FBI sent this source with its non-fact based hypothesis to a list of Muslims and others as part of a COINTELPRO operation involving disinformation. Malcolm X was sent this pamphlet. I can't stress the fact enough. The source, that is this seed of this claim, this popular claim that H.L. Hunt, the Texas oil billionaire, bankrolled the Nation of Islam and was therefore the puppet master of the messenger of God, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The seed of this claim, the source that underlies this claim, never made the claim itself. Lightfoot only hypothesized based on his logical reasoning. He never offered any facts. He never claimed to have any facts in this regard. And the FBI, knowing this, but seized it to plant a seed in the mind of Malcolm X and others that this pamphlet was sent to anonymously. And then the FBI would water that seed. In the document that we posted, we showed that we have a robust discussion on how President Lyndon B. Johnson, working with his longtime friend and neighbor, J. Edgar Hoover, they put together a strategy to win for Johnson the November 1964 elections, a strategy that involved operationalizing this canard again, putting it in the newspapers, but using it to damage the Nation of Islam, to damage Malcolm X, but also to damage H.L. Hunt, because while H.L. Hunt was a longtime friend of Johnson and Hoover as well, such that the evidence is quite good that H.L. Hunt put up some money toward the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, an event that elevated his friend Lyndon Vice President Johnson to the presidency, but that was in November 1963. By November 1964, H.L. Hunt had abandoned Johnson for the likes of right-wing conservatives such as Senator Barry Goldwater, against whom Johnson was running. J. Edgar Hoover, as we document, and President Johnson concocted, fabricated a conspiracy theory that has Hunt, white ring, white right-wing conservative H.L. Hunt, unifying with the people he hates, the red communists and the black Muslims. He, this white right-winger, financing the reds and the blacks to start riots in the cities in order to discredit Johnson's Great Society policies and damage him at the polls. This was a fabrication of this conspiracy theory, this white right-wing, red communist, black Muslim conspiracy theory that centered H.L. Hunt and the black Muslims was fabricated by J. Edgar Hoover and Lyndon Baines Johnson in order to further Johnson's campaign against his opponent that Hunt has switched sides to. Hunt himself, I don't know if you guys know that, Hunt, a very proud conservative racist, a very proud supporter of the John Birch Society and these other white separatist groups, whom he did finance. He picked no bones about that, but he specifically went on record denying funding the black Muslims. He said in the New York Times, August 17th, 1964, hear him for yourself. You haven't asked me yet, he says to the reporter David Jones. You haven't asked me yet if I'm financing the black Muslims, Mr. Hunt says wryly. All over the country, they're saying I am. So I want to be asked that. He answered, no, it's not true. I don't know anything about them except that they're a bad Negro group. There you have it. This is a genealogy of that canard. This is the origin and evolution of the canard that H.L. Hunt bankrolled the Nation of Islam. H.L. Hunt himself denies it, and the source of the canard is an FBI counterintelligence operation that targeted the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by targeting Malcolm with the source that doesn't even make the claim. Now, be clear. The point of this should not be mistaken. If a racist Texas billionaire wants to donate to the Nation of Islam in furtherance of our aim of complete separation from white people, we are not going to turn his money away. Anyone who wants to donate to the cause of Allah is free to do so. And we will not give you your money back because you say nigger at your country club. We don't care that you say nigger at your country club. We want to get away from America, and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad made clear in what the Muslims want in our pursuit of a separate state and territory of our own. The U.S. government is duty bound to financially support us in that effort for 25 years. Now, the U.S. government is the Satan that brought us here. There is no Texas billionaire who has been more abusive to Black people than the U.S. government has and is to Black people. So if we would accept the financial contribution of the U.S. government, and we would accept the financial contribution of whoever agrees with the wisdom of God that the races cannot live in peace together, so the races must be separated. And yes, whites should come up off of their resources to help us achieve the aim of Allah. So none of what I said should suggest that we, the Nation of Islam, have a moral problem with accepting money from NHL Hunt or whoever else. But no one who would make a donation to us becomes our puppet master. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of God. Today, he is the exalted Christ. The only one who pulls his strings is the Lord of all the worlds. So all of the donations that white racists would make, they are as good as any liberal white donation. You accept liberal white donations, don't you? But Malcolm told you that the fox is a worse friend than the wolf to the Negro. The wolf who shows his teeth is a better ally than the fox who hides his agenda, but we end up on his plate more often than we are on the plate of the wolf. That's a fact. That's what Malcolm taught. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did green light meeting and negotiating with the Ku Klux Klan, but you all have, again, completely misrepresented that situation, as did Malcolm in that same speech, February 15th, 1965. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not require Malcolm to go against his will, against his moral conscience, Malcolm's, to go and negotiate with the Ku Klux Klan. That is absolutely not how it went down. You want to know how it went down? When Malcolm was speaking in Atlanta in 1962, I believe it was, the mosque number 15 of Minister Jeremiah X, Malcolm made a much publicized visit to mosque number 15. And while there, the Ku Klux Klan sent him a telegram wanting to meet with him to negotiate with the Nation of Islam. the telegram was sent to Malcolm while he was in Atlanta. Malcolm and Jeremiah, following protocol, because we're the nation of Islam. We got protocol. Malcolm not able, and Jeremiah not able to arrange such a meeting themselves, called the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Chicago, read the telegram to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad summoned them the next day to come to Chicago to discuss it. Malcolm wanted that meeting with the Klan. He was, as Les Payne documents from his interviews with Minister Jeremiah X, Malcolm wanted that meeting. And he flew to Chicago, lobbying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to allow him to make that meeting. But Malcolm had a particular idea for the meeting. The Klan wanted to offer the nation land in Georgia. The Klan agreed with the position of the Nation of Islam that the races should be separate. And the Klan wanted to meet with us to negotiate that land donation. We'll accept that. In order to build a separate nation in America, we need land. Now, the land that we would acquire is currently, most of it, in the possession of whites, racist whites. If we are going to acquire that land, we are going to have to negotiate with white people who may very well say nigga, 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 nigga in their country club or worse. But business is business. The land transfer in this country from white to black requires our negotiating with white owners of the land, and many of them are satanic. Malcolm wanted to meet with the Klan, and he lobbied the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to allow him to do it, but his idea was very different, Malcolm wanted to put on a spectacular media event. Malcolm wanted to go to Georgia and organize a debate between him and the Ku Klux Klan leadership. Malcolm believed that if he went, as he said, behind the cotton curtain of the South and bested the Ku Klux Klan in a much publicized media event debate, that he could go back to New York and tell the New Amsterdam News he invaded the cotton curtain and defeated the Ku Klux Klan. And this would be a powerful, he believed, recruiting tool for the nation. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad listened to Malcolm lobbying him to be able to accept the meeting offered by the Klan. Malcolm wanted that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to Malcolm and Jeremiah, he said, you can meet with them devils. But he sent them with a different objective. Malcolm wanted a show. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted the land. So he green lit the meeting with the Klan, but for the purpose of negotiating land, not negotiating a media event battle of the wits. The messenger was not interested in that show. He wanted the land. So he said to Malcolm and Jeremiah, quote, "You can meet with them devils." That's what he said. He said, "But be careful with them devils." Now, none of you nationalists, or let me say this, let me say it differently. Every one of you nationalists who criticized the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he would negotiate, he would agree to a meeting with the Klan to negotiate land. All of you nationalists who describe that as treacherous, who describe that as selling out, all of you are hypocrites. Because your Black nationalism is so indebted to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And it should be. That was a great, great man. But did you know that where Malcolm and Jeremiah met with the Klan in Atlanta, only blocks from that location, 30 years prior, Marcus Garvey met with the Ku Klux Klan. Did you know that? Marcus Garvey was very adamant about his alliance with the Klan and the white society groups and W.E.B. Du Bois and the Negroes. Heat, vicious, and vile talk on Marcus Garvey because he met with the Klan just like you Negroes. He vile talk on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he granted Malcolm's request to meet with the Klan. Malcolm wanted that. He lobbied for that. And the messenger granted it, but he granted it according to the bigger picture of land acquisition, not the smaller picture of a media stage show that Malcolm wanted. Yeah. If you will condemn the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for green lighting Malcolm's meeting with the Klan, then condemn the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, you nationalists. Where you at? Where are you at about Marcus? Let me read to you what Marcus Mosiah Garvey said. He said, quote, "I regard the Klan, the Anglo-Saxon clubs, and white American societies as far as the Negro is concerned, as better friends of the race than all the other groups of hypocritical whites put together. I like honest and fair play. You may call me a Klansman if you will, but potentially every white man is a Klansman as far as the Negro in competition with whites socially, economically, and politically is concerned. And there is no use lying." He says, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, he says, members of the Anglo-Saxon clubs are honest. Now, the Anglo-Saxon clubs are the elite Ku Klux Klan, the Ku Klux Klan version or the elite version of the Ku Klux Klan that Marcus Garvey had alliances with. He had alliances with the Ku Klux Klan and alliances with the Anglo-Saxon clubs. And he says they are honest and honorable in their desire to purify and preserve the white race, even as we are determined to purify and standardize our race. We, the two organizations, the Klan, Anglo-Saxons, and Marcus Garvey's phenomenal foundational Black nationalist organization, the UNIA. He says, we, the two organizations, should work together for the purpose of bringing about the ideal salt, the purification of the races, their autonomous separation, and the unbridled freedom of self-development and self-expression. Those who are against this are enemies. You who are against Black separatists and white separatists working together to achieve that aim, Marcus Garvey is saying you are an enemy of the race. And that applies to you who would dare criticize the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for negotiating with the Klan to bring about this separation. So, I will close on this. I told you I would not hold us long. But I think the points are made. I asked you, us, to take note of that word, canard, C-A-N-A-R-D, canard. Because whenever you hear that word, think of the claim that H.L. Hunt bankrolled the Nation of Islam. And whenever you hear the claim that H.L. Hunt bankrolled the Nation of Islam, think of the word canard, because canard is an unfounded rumor, a story. Malcolm, when he publicly put that out there, February 15th, 1965, he was not, nor did he even presume to be presenting any facts that was in his possession. He made it clear he was reciting rumor that was generated by the FBI. Now, one other thing, he says, I heard it when I was in the movement, in the Nation of Islam, and I heard it more since I left. We've identified the source of his hearing when he was in the Nation of Islam. May 1963, he received that package from the FBI with that pamphlet. What about when he left the nation? How did he hear it? What are the circumstances? Are those circumstances any more official and reliable? Well, you be the judge. An example of when he heard it outside the nation. Charles 37X, who was very close to Malcolm, he tells us how when he and Malcolm were in Chicago to be on a show with Senator Paul Douglas, Illinois Senator Paul Douglas. Malcolm did a show with the senator. During the break, they had a round table, and one of the station people comes to Malcolm and says this: Malcolm, what are you going to do for money now? You're out of the Nation of Islam. What are you going to do for money now in the nation? You know, Elijah Muhammad is funded by that Texas billionaire. What are you going to do for money now, Malcolm? This is a station person. See, this is an FBI plant watering the seed that the FBI planted in Malcolm's head in May 1963. Now in 1964, the FBI is watering that seed, sending people to Malcolm's events to water that seed by more rumor. This wasn't a person who gave Malcolm any evidence. He said, Malcolm, what are you going to do? I hear Elijah Muhammad was funded. And that watered that seed. And February 15th, 1965, in his understandable anger for having his home bombed in an FBI NYPD involved operation, out of his anger, thinking at the time that that was a Nation of Islam operation, and it was not a Nation of Islam operation, but thinking that he was, in his understandable anger, he gives vent and expression to the rumors that he had been hearing. The FBI generated rumors, deliberately generated rumors that he had been hearing. And all of you who quote the Canard, you are quoting foundationless rumor that was deliberately engineered in a disinformation operation aimed at the Nation of Islam. You, in your recital of this Canard, are continuing that COINTELPRO operation against the Nation of Islam. So I will end there tonight. I wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to share that with us so we can bury that Canard. Again, it's not to say that if any white billionaire offered the Honorable Elijah Muhammad money, that we would treat that as bad money. Absolutely not. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he would use the devil to build the black nation. And devils should offer their resources to help us achieve the vision of Allah, a separate and independent nation for the black man and woman in America. So the white billionaires, if they want a drink of water in hell, they should fund. But no donation from no white man, black man, or other ever comes with strings attached when it comes to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, when it comes to the honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, when it comes to the Nation of Islam. We will accept your money, but we not hoes. We will accept your money, but we won't prostitute for you. because the Nation of Islam, we not Negroes. May Allah bless you, family. May Allah keep you safe. Until the next time, I'm blessed to make an offering. Assalamu alaikum.